Hey y'all. This is just a remake of a video I made on. It's not a remake of the video, it's a remake of the intro of a video that I recorded on Saturday, the 20th, I believe. Yeah, this is the 20th, Saturday the 20th, July 20th. I just recorded the meeting that took place on Friday, the follow up meeting that I told you guys I would update you about in the last video. I did have that meeting and I decided to make a video documenting what took place, but I had to make it in parts. The first part got interrupted, so I had to stop the video, and then I proceeded to make the next clip, which was where majority of the content was contained in the 59-minute clip. The next clip that you're going to hear. The initial clip that I'm remaking right now, somehow the file got corrupted. So I'm not able to merge the clips. So that's why I'm remaking the intro clip right now. And I'm going to merge it to the next clip where, like I said, most of the content is contained. And then I'm going to go ahead and upload. And this is going to be a part 2 to the last video that I made, the one that you see on the screen, workplace drama documentation. I'm not supposed to be making these videos at work, guys. And I already told you all in the last video, and you're going to hear me say it in the next clip as well, that I will no longer be making these videos at work. I learned my lesson. I'm certain that making these videos have gotten me into problems. It's not that I'm stopping the videos in general. I'm stopping the work videos. So if there is some sort of gang stalking or shadow networking, whatever, anything to do with my targeting, I won't be making videos about it if it pertains to work. The only time I'll be documenting targeting is if it's outside of the workplace. And also, too, even with those videos, I'm kind of laying off, y'all, because I have so many videos already. I've literally made a video for everything at this point that I don't even feel like I need to keep making the videos unless something really gnarly happens, which does happen sometimes when you're targeted. If something really gnarly happens, then I will document. But for the most part, I don't feel like I really need to make these videos like that anymore, especially not the work ones. But this, again, is just me recreating the first clip that I'm going to merge to the next clip you're going to hear that got corrupted. The file got corrupted. So I'm not remaking everything, y'all. It was like 17 minutes worth of content, and I'm not saying all that stuff again. I was just documenting what took place at work the next morning after the initial meeting that took place on Thursday, where I went in to speak with the general manager and he was in a meeting. And I told you guys the next day I would go in to have my meeting on Friday. Before I went in for that meeting on Friday, I had to work Thursday night. And so something took place during that shift, and I talked about it in the clip, but it's not that serious. I don't feel like I need to mention it. And I think I do reference it in the next clip, I'm not sure. But most of what I wanted to document is in the next clip. So I'm not too worried about really saying too much in this intro. I just want to do the intro. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, links that lead to videos that talk about the technology used on targets, tactics used on targets, and info about the targeted individual program in general. Also, y'all, if you're new to the channel, please don't start here. First of all, as you can see, this is a part 2 video. So you definitely need to check out part 1, which is the video you see on the screen. I'm going to change the title to part 1 when I upload this part. But check out part 1 before you check out this part. You're going to be completely lost. And then second of all, try to listen to my story and some of my prior videos before listening to my newer ones, or you will still be lost. And that's it, y'all. I just wanted to do a brief intro, the typical intro that I usually do, and let you all know that there was an initial clip that I had created on Saturday, and the file got corrupted. So I was unable to merge it to the next clip that you're going to hear. And so this is just a recreation of that clip, but it's leaving out a lot of the things that I said. I just felt like those things weren't necessary. The important things are mentioned in the next clip, mainly me documenting what took place in the meeting, etc., etc. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out. Anyways, y'all, let me try to wrap things up because I just listened back to the clip now, and I'm seeing that I'm already 16 minutes in. This is how the time goes by quickly. So anyways, this is what took place in the meeting. yesterday now. This is the follow-up meeting to the one that took place 2 weeks prior. Remember, 2 weeks prior was when they called me, and I was just talking about that in the last clip. They called me in the day of when I got so that morning I got off and I was making the video, the part two race sensitization video, where I was advocating for myself because with the shadow networking they kept sending me stuff about ALS and being like a serial killer or just serial killers in general. So I made that video that morning at work, and that day when I got off, as soon as I got home actually, I got the text message that I was to report to the office the next day. And then when I got to the office the next day, this was 2 weeks ago, the meeting that took place 2 weeks ago, that was where I was reprimanded because the flags were not put up and the back gate was not opened by my coworker who was tasked to do those things. That's not foot patrol. That's not my duty as the foot patrol guard. That is the duty of the vehicle patrol guard. Only recently, after that meeting took place, did they change the directive and say that the foot patrol guard is to help the vehicle patrol guard put flags up and then also ride with them to the back and monitor them closing the back gate. That directive hadn't been given yet. So that was strictly vehicle patrol's duty. So why I was being called in the office and reprimanded for what my coworker didn't do baffled me. I was being told that a supervisor came to me in the shopping center and told me that I was supposed to close the gate and open and put up the, excuse me, not close the gate. I was supposed to open the gate because what it is it's a storage area, y'all. And at night the gate is closed. And so in the morning, the vehicle patrol guard is supposed to unlock the gate. They have the key to do that. And then they're also supposed to drive to the station where the flags are for the shopping center and put the flags up, and that's located in the vehicle. So those were all vehicle patrol duties, right? They're telling me that the supervisor came into the shopping center and told me that I was supposed to do those things randomly, that I was supposed to do those things that morning. So I said, no supervisor ever came and told me that. I said, which supervisor? And they're trying to explain to me the supervisor, and I'm like, no supervisor ever told me that. I said, that was never told to me. And so we went back and forth about it. And they basically said, okay, well, we're gonna change things now to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so then they changed the directive, and 2 weeks ago gave the directive that from now on, foot patrol is supposed to go with vehicle patrol in the vehicle, help them put up the flags, and then ride to the back with them in the vehicle and watch them open the back gate. Instantly, I hesitated and I made a face. A face like that was something I didn't want to do. They asked me what's going on. Is that something you're uncomfortable with? This was 2 weeks ago. The secretary said, if there's a guard you're having a problem with, you can just let us know. If there's something you're uncomfortable with. This is what she said. Now, for me, I know I have to go back and work with these guards. This is not a regular situation. So this meeting that's supposed to be confidential isn't. Everyone on the island is viewing the meeting, including the coworkers that I have to now turn around and go back and work with. So I didn't want to say to her, well, yeah, I am uncomfortable with the coworker that I had the argument with about sitting in the office. Sitting in the vehicle with him feels uncomfortable to me. Oh, and also too, my thoughts are being projected to him while he's sitting next to me in the vehicle because I'm tired. Like how am I supposed to say those things? Even though these are things that are known, everybody on island knows what's going on with me. You know how it works when you're targeted. It's not acknowledged. So as far as you're concerned, these things are happening. The people around you are aware that it's happening, but it's not something that's acknowledged, so it's obviously not something I can bring up. I can bring up the discomfort with the coworker, but the other stuff like, oh, my thoughts being projected and my brain is going to start ticking and it's uncomfortable for me. Like, I can't say those things. And even more, I don't want to say to you while everyone's watching, including the coworker that we're referencing, I don't want to say to you, yeah, I feel uncomfortable sitting in the vehicle with him. And then I have to turn around and go and work with him. That's an uncomfortable thing. And so for me, I was just like, I hesitated and I said, no, it's okay. I didn't know what to say. I just tried to ask, is it okay if I just go in my personal vehicle? And I'll follow vehicle patrol to put the flags up and then I'll follow them to the back gate. Had they told me okay with that, there would have been no problem. I would have been following the directive straight through and through, and I would have been following vehicle patrol to put the flags up, and then I would have drove to the back gate with them. It would have been no problem. The hesitancy came with me having to sit in the vehicle with the guard. That was where the discomfort came. Anyway, So that was the directive that was given to me. I wasn't told that there was a pending investigation about what they were claiming the supervisor told me. I wasn't told that I could possibly be written up for what my coworker didn't do because he was on duty that morning and that was his duty. And so I didn't think that was something they would actually write me up for. I was almost certain that they were just saying that the supervisor gave that directive to me, just as a reason to call me in and kind of give me a reprimand inadvertently, really, for the video I was creating that morning at work. This is what I was thinking was going on because it was a blatant lie. That supervisor never gave me that directive. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well, it has to be that video that I made. I mean, it has to be. So I didn't argue with them. I just listened to the directive. I said, okay, and I left. And so when I went back to work now, I did try to keep up with the directive they gave. You know, like for the first night, I actually did ride in the vehicle with the guard that I'm telling you I was uncomfortable with. I rode with him to put the flags up. I rode with him to open the gate. He was trying to be pleasant to me. You know, I told you there's this awkward thing between him and I. It's not like I would say there's a problem there, at least not on my part. But I'm intuitive, tell that he has some sort of um I would just use the word dislike towards me, but he's never been any overt with it. It's never been like that guard from last year that I made the video about. The most overt thing he did was that argument him and I had about me sitting in the office, although it was known that a supervisor gave me that directive. But other than that, there was nothing overt with him. It was just an energy. I could tell he didn't like me. It's certain little things he did. It wasn't obvious or overt or anything that I would make a video about, but there was still that awkwardness there. So anyways, I did sit in the vehicle with him that first night. We rode, did whatever. And then when we're riding back to the front of the shopping center, he actually asked me a question. This was the most conversation me and this man have ever had. He said, Sharifa, can I ask you a question? I said, sure, no problem. And I realized I said the wrong thing yesterday because I attempted to make this video yesterday and I mixed the conversation that I had had with somebody earlier in the day, yesterday, with the conversation that me and this guard had. What I said in my video yesterday that I deleted was that he asked me, why am I always looking so stressed? I'm too young to be stressed out. That was said in the conversation, but that's not what he asked me. He asked me, why do I move around like I don't care about people? That's what he asked me. He said, I just want to ask you why you move around like you don't care about people. You move around like you don't care about anybody. And I said, I do? I said, maybe you're just misreading me. I said, I have a lot going on. I'm stressed. I said, and I'm very introverted. Something like that. This is not verbatim word for word what was said, but this is the gist of what I said in response to him. And then he said, well, there was another young lady that I used to talk to. And I asked her, why are you always so angry and so stressed out? And you're so young. So he did say the stressed out thing. But the reason I got the context of the combo kind of confused us because there was someone earlier in the day on Friday that I had a conversation with yesterday that kind of was similar about me being young and stressed out, but it was two totally different conversations and I kind of mixed it up. But anyway, so then he was telling me, but there was another young lady that I spoke to and she was telling me that she was so stressed out and her life was so hard and all these bad things were happening to her. And come to find out, she thought her life was hell. And when I looked into it, she was the hell. That's what he said. She was the hell. And so for me, I just had to laugh. I just laughed. And I said, okay, well, I said, well, maybe I am the hell. This is what I said to him, and I just laughed. I kept it lighthearted and pleasant. Because for me, him even having that conversation humanized him for me. Because before I was looking at him like this, like stiff, like passive aggressive, cold robot. That's how he was operating. And just that little mini conversation humanized him a little bit for me. So I had to laugh at what he said, and then also too, it's just the realization that yet another person that has a warped perception of me, a preconceived notion and a warped perception of who they think I am. So I wasn't really, I didn't really offend me what he said, but that was the perception. I'm like, okay, so this is the energy. He feels like I'm this type of cold-hearted person that doesn't care about people, rather than realizing that this is a reaction, right? And this is a response to what's going on around me, right? And what's taking place around me. I was never a cold hearted, uncaring person. These people are getting to know targeted Sharifa. They don't know me. So, anyways, I was like, okay, whatever. So, not whatever in a disrespectful way, but I didn't take offense to it. It was more so something that made him seem more human to me. So, anyway, I came out the vehicle and so that was the first night where I sat in the vehicle with him. It wasn't that bad. My brain was ticking, which was what I was fearful of. And it did feel kind of awkward, but it wasn't terrible. It really wasn't. Moving forward from there, I even went up to him before so I wouldn't have to ride in the car with him because it still felt awkward. And I asked him, do you want me to put the flags up? And so I put the flags up for him. I took the initiative and I approached him and I just went and I put the flags up. I didn't go with him to the back gate. So I wasn't following the directive that they gave to the T. And the reason being was because I looked in the logbook, right? And this is not an excuse, but it was just in a moment, I think a moment of defiance because I realized, wait a minute, I'm the only person doing this. I'm like, wait a minute, is this directive just being given to me because I made the video? That's what it felt like. And it wasn't just defiance, like, okay, I'm not going to do what you said because no one else is doing it. It was more so like, okay, no one else is doing it, and this is making me feel really uncomfortable. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. As long as I'm staying up, I'm doing my patrols, the flags are getting put up, the gate's getting closed, I'm writing in the logbook, everything should be okay. It was more so like that. No one else is doing it. It was that type of moment more so than, well, no one else is doing it, so I'm not going to do it either. It wasn't that. It was more so like, well, the whole interaction is making me uncomfortable. I don't really want to ride with the guard in the vehicle to do something that they've been doing for months and they haven't had an issue doing. I'm like, I kind of feel like this is retribution for the video I made, and I'm doing everything else that I'm supposed to do. And so I wasn't keeping up with it the way they told me to, where I'm sitting in the vehicle and going and putting up the flags, and then sitting in the vehicle and riding to the back gate, and then logging in the book what took place because I saw no one else was doing it. I went through the logbook. I even followed the directive to a T what they told me that first day. I even, when the guard came to relieve us, I wrote that officer so and so relieve me. That's why I know what her name is. The officer that drives in the white truck. I didn't know her name before. I know her name. I'm not going to say it in my video because that first morning I followed the directive and I said, Officer so and so relieve me because I was part of the directive. They wanted me to ride in the vehicle with the vehicle patrol guard. They wanted me to help put the flags up, ride in the vehicle with them to the back gate, watch them close the back gate, and then when I get back over, they wanted me to log it in the logbook, and then they wanted me to log in the name of the officer that relieved us. I looked through the logbook. I saw no other officer was doing that. There was no one else logging that I helped put up the flags. I helped close the back gate. Officer so and so relieved me. I saw nobody else was doing it. And so I stopped doing it. I did it that first night. You can check the logbook. It's there when I did it the first night. I didn't do it again. I kind of started to do it my way, what felt comfortable for me. So it was me grabbing the flags and I'll take it and I'll put it up. Instead of me sitting in the vehicle with you and riding to go put the flags up and then riding to the back gate, having that awkward car ride, and then also logging it in the logbook. I didn't do that. So, anyways, um, now fast forward 2 weeks later, I wasn't being given any flack about it. I wasn't given any reprimand for doing it the way I was doing it. No one else was doing it, by the way. Like I said, I went in the logbook and I saw no one else was doing it, but I didn't take a picture. I didn't think I would need to. So, anyways, now fast forward 2 weeks later to when I was asked to come in again 2 days ago into the office. That day when they asked me to come in, I was sent the text message 2 weeks later, right? And the text message came while I was making a video. It wasn't a bad video. None of my videos are bad. It may seem negative or have some sort of negative connotation because I'm talking about targeting and I'm talking about the things taking place around me. And oftentimes I'm making it at work. So that's where it can be a problem, and I recognize that. But none of my videos are bad to where I'm sitting here trying to make problems with people. It's me being harassed, and I'm documenting the harassment. That's what's going on in these videos. But anyways, that video I was making 2 days ago, like it was Wednesday of last week. It really wasn't a bad video. It wasn't a negative video. It wasn't even about gang stalking. I was just documenting the fact that I was able to squat 230 pounds on the Smith machine. So I was just going heavier on the Smith machine, and I was excited. And that's what I was making the video about. I had just started making the video. And then I got the message from the secretary that I need to come into the office the next day. So I was just like, okay, I'm kind of traumatized because the last time I got the message about coming into the office was also after I made a video and it was bad stuff, right? So I'm like, is this, did this video cause a problem too? I'm talking about weightlifting here. I'm like, I know this didn't cause a problem. So anyways, um, so then when I go into the office, like I told y'all in the last clip, I told y'all what took place when I went in on the Thursday. I wasn't able to meet with the general manager, but I was advised almost 2 weeks later from the initial meeting that I was likely going to be suspended and written up for that incident that took place where the flags weren't put up and the back gate wasn't closed by my coworker who was tasked to do those things. I was being told that I was the one that was going to get written up for it because the supervisor gave me the directive to do it. So I said, can I please speak with the supervisor? I started to not go off. I'm not an angry person. I'm very laid back. Even with my targeting and all these different things like that, I still have a very calm demeanor. I'm a very laid back person. I don't have a temper. As much as I've been through, like the most temperamental I've been has been during my targeting. This is the most temperamental I've ever been in my life. I've been a pushover most of my life, right? I'll stand up for myself if I absolutely have to. But I'm a very laid back person. I have been very outspoken and temperamental in this targeting. And even still, I didn't really start to flip out when she was telling me what she was telling me, even though I knew that was complete nonsense and completely unfair. I'm just keeping it real, not being disrespectful, but complete nonsense because the supervisor didn't give me that directive. And I know that they called me in as soon as I was making that video. So I knew that's what it was about. So I was just like, okay. I said, well, what supervisor? I said, can I speak to her today? I said, no, I don't want to leave. Remember I told y'all that I was waiting for a while and my ride was outside waiting. And so she said, well, why don't you come back tomorrow? But when she said, but let me just quickly tell you what the meeting's going to be about. And then when she told me what it was going to be about and that I was getting written up for what they're claiming my coworker didn't do, that was tasked to him to do. That was when I was like, wait a minute. I said, what? I said, but she never told me that. I said, so it's her word against mine. I said, so you're just going to write me? And they said, well, it's an investigation. She said it's an ongoing investigation and everybody's going to be in the meeting. You, the supervisor that's saying she told you that, and so and so. I said, okay, well, I kind of want to talk about it now. I'm like, I know that didn't happen. I said, there's no way you could write me up for something that I wasn't tasked to do. I said, what was the name of the supervisor? She said, didn't want to give me the name. She's like, you're going to find out tomorrow when we have the meeting. I want to find out right away which supervisor is lying. I want to know which one because as far as I'm concerned, I've been okay with all the supervisors. I'm sure most of them have their low feelings towards me. It might not be all of them. I've had different reactions and interactions with different people. Some people have no feelings towards me, right? I can tell, or if they do, they're very good at masking it. But the way they operate with me, I'm intuitive. Like I can feel energies from a person. You don't even have to say nothing to me, and I can feel it whether you care for me or not. I've had some supervisors where I've dealt with them where I can tell like there's nothing there, like they don't necessarily feel anything towards me. They just know the situation is going on and they're kind of just staying out of it. I've had supervisors where I can tell there's a thing like they don't care for me, like you don't like me, you're one of those ones. And then I've had ones where it's just like I can't tell. It's like it seems like they're off and on. It seems like they're okay with me, but then maybe some moments like I say things that might annoy them. I'm not sure. I've gotten different feelings from different supervisors. But with the female supervisors, for the most part, I've been cool with all of them. Like, especially the two that there are two of them that I thought for sure it wouldn't be. There's one I thought, okay, it might be her because I've seen her pinch her nose before and she's done stuff before. She's one of those ones that sometimes it's like sometimes she's being cool and then sometimes it's like like doing passive stuff, but still nothing too overt. So this is why I never made a video about it. But there's that one, and that's actually the one I thought that was going to be lying. I thought it was going to be her. And then there's the two supervisors, the two other female supervisors, who, as far as I know, are cool. The one that actually did the lying, she's so nice. I was like, her? Like, and she was the last one I thought it would be. I'm telling you, she was not who I thought it was going to be. And so I was just like, whoa. I was just completely baffled when it was her that actually told the lie. When I found out who it was that was telling the lie, I was like, what the heck? I did not. They heard my thoughts, right? They listened to my thoughts. When I was told on Thursday, right before I actually had the meeting yesterday, when I was told the supervisor was going to be there in this meeting, the supervisor that claimed she gave me the directive. In my head, I'm combing my head as I'm driving home, trying to think about which supervisor is it going to be that's going to tell this lie. And there were three female because they told me it was a female supervisor. Initially, I thought it was going to be the bald one, the one that I told y'all gave me the false directive to go sit in the office. Like I could believe he would do that in a heartbeat. I thought that's who it was going to be, but I haven't seen him in months, so I knew that they knew that wouldn't make sense. They couldn't use him, so that's why I was like, it couldn't be him. And so then they told me it was a female supervisor, and there are three female supervisors that I know that I deal with. And so in my head, I'm just trying to, move it around. Like, who would be capable of doing that? And I'm thinking about it, and there's one that's very outspoken, and she's like really cool and really down, right? And it's like this is why I said she's a sometime-ish one because sometimes it's like she don't get in the stuff that's happening. And it's like she's cool 1 minute, but then next minute, she's getting involved in it. Like she called me the other morning, and acting like she's giving me a directive that was, anyway, I'm not gonna go into details. She's like sometimes, sometimes she's really cool, and then other times it's like she's getting in it, right? Then there's the one, like I said, that lied that totally doesn't get in it. She never does any passive aggressive stuff. She never pinches her nose. She's always very nice. And she's one, even if there are feelings there, she just doesn't show it. She's really good at not showing it. Or maybe they forced her to do it. I don't know. She sounded like she didn't even want to be on the phone in that meeting when she was telling the lie. She sounded like she didn't want to be on the phone. I don't know. But she's one of the ones I have never gotten any type of anything from. I was just like, she was the last one I thought would do it. I'm telling you. And then there's another one that I deal with that does the pinch nose thing. She's the only one that does the pinch nose thing that I can see. But she still keeps it professional with me, and it's never been anything too extreme. She's really strict on me. She's very strict on me. This one I'm talking about, very strict. And so I actually thought it was gonna be her. She's very strict on me, and she does the pinch nose thing. But she's never done anything other than that that was too overt or crazy. But that's what I thought it was gonna be. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was gonna be the one that's sometime-ish because she's really cool despite the sometime-ishness. And I really didn't think it was gonna be the one that actually did it. Like she was the last one I thought it was gonna be. Anyway, so when I get to the meeting now yesterday, I went into the meeting and I was expecting to see whichever supervisor it was that was going to be saying it gave me this directive. She wasn't there. It was me, it was the general manager, and it was the secretary in the meeting. And so we sit and we're having the meeting, and they just pulled out like this little folder, and it seems to me like they were collecting a folder. And a few of them collaboratively got together and put together these like what seemed like fictitious complaints on me in this little folder. I was just like, well, I never had gotten written up for any of these things that were in the folder. So the only thing that I got written up for was after the meeting yesterday when they reprimanded me in person about me forgetting the logbook and the walkie-talkie on the stage in the shopping center. They did write me up for that, and I did sign paperwork for that. That's the first write-up I've gotten. But all these little fictitious things that were in that folder, they were never brought to my attention, and I wasn't even aware of the fact that they were collecting a little file on me. So obviously my videos were annoying them, and together they collaboratively were putting together little fictitious complaints and putting together a little file on me, and I wasn't aware of it. So I sat there in the meeting, and I'm kind of just like blindsided when this file is pulled out with all these things that, some of them were not even true. That was pulled out. I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. So the general manager starts busting down what's going on. And the first thing we tackle is this lie that the supervisor was telling about giving me the directive to put the flags up and to open the back gate 2 weeks ago. So I'm just like, when the ifs, and mind you, y'all, every time this is I'm actually glad this is happening. Every time I'm talking about this lie that was told, I'm getting an awkward look on my face. And the reason being is because anytime I'm accused of something that I didn't do, I get an awkward look and I get this weird. And this is a prime example of what I'm talking about when I say my look of awkwardness is not indicative of guilt, but PTSD and trauma from being stared at, right? The same thing happened with the same coworker, right? That they're claiming didn't put up the flag and they're claiming didn't open the back gate. A morning where he was really tired, and the supervisor pulled up and had to reprimand him because he hadn't been hitting his scan points on time. And the reason that was happening was because he was really tired. This was just one of those nights. It was a bad night. He didn't ask me to drive for him this night. So she pulled up because the command center called her because he wasn't hitting his scan points. And they called him first, and then they called her because he hadn't answered the phone. And so when I pulled up to the office, I was pulling up because coincidentally enough, it was 6 a.m. And that's the time I opened the office. This was when I still used to sit in my vehicle. That's the time I opened the office for another guard that picks up a taser that works in the shopping center. That's the time I opened the gate, not the gate, excuse me, the office for him. So I went to open the office for him, and as I pull up, I see my coworker, the one that was getting reprimanded, and the supervisor standing outside the office. So I pulled up and I said, "Hey, good morning," da 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 to her, the supervisor. I signed the sheet, the sign-in sheet. She went in the office. As soon as she went in the office, my coworker said, "Hey, did you know she was here? Did you call her?" I said, "No, I didn't call her." I said, "I didn't know she was here." I said, "The only reason I pulled up is because it's 6 o'clock." And I showed him the time on the phone. And I said, "Remember, this is the time I opened the office for so and so to come in to get his taser?" And he said, "Yes, yes, okay, okay." He said, "Because she come and she called and she was telling me that the command center called her because I wasn't hitting the scan points and this and that." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Wow." I said, "Well, that happens to all of us." I said, just, don't get caught up again. This is what I told him. Then I went to pull up. Right after I signed the paperwork, I went to pull my car back up. I pulled up a little closer to the office. He walks over to my car and he starts having a conversation with me about what took place with the supervisor. And, that he was really tired and this. And I said, "Trust me, I understand." I said, "I used to work 2 jobs too." I said, "I used to teach and I was a security guard." And I said, "I know what's going on." I said, "Sometimes we nod off. It happens to me too." I said, "It happens to all of us. And they understand that because we're not nocturnal and this is a night job." I said, "As long as you're not always nodding off and you do what you need to do and you apologize for what took place, then that's fine." That's what I was telling him. And he started agreeing with me and we're having a regular conversation. And then randomly, it's like he started getting paranoid and he started saying, something about rats and Ever since this next coworker started working there, this guy that didn't even work the night shift with us, it's a guy that usually we would relieve, a guy that works the shift prior to us. So it's the 3 to 11 shift, and we work the 11 to 7 a.m. shift. He started talking about that guy. Now I know he and that guy to be good. I pulled up and seen them talking like real buddy buddy, homies. So for me, I knew that wasn't, I knew he was trying to hint that I had ratted on him. Is the way the conversation was taking place, where he was calling the guy a rat and saying all this stuff when I know he knows that there are cameras on us. And so I know he knows full well that that guy would be privy to this conversation taking place. And why would he randomly start talking about that after that incident occurred? So he started talking about rats, and ever since that dude started working for the company, a lot of things started happening with the company, and people getting ratted on left and right, and this and that, and so I said, okay. I said, well, I would never rat on anybody because I don't beat around the bush. And for the longest time, I've been helping him. Whenever he would feel tired at night, he would ask me to drive, and I didn't mind doing it because I like driving, and I have a problem with nodding off too. I've been very real about that. And when I do vehicle patrol, I don't have that problem. That's why I like vehicle patrol. So for me, it was this symbiotic relation him and I had, where I would drive for him and he would get that ease of having foot patrol, because foot patrol, you do less things. Now not that's not the case. Now they've kind of split up the duties. But before, the vehicle patrol did have more duties. You have to drive around, hit scan points, and then at the end of the night you have to put the flags up, and you have to open the gate in the back, and you have to open the mini mall. I didn't mind that. I love vehicle patrol. I was always begging them to give me vehicle patrol because it kept me up. Doing foot patrol is so boring. You start feeling like you're nodding off. You have to, drink Red Bull and all kind of stuff. Red Bull is so bad for you. It used to make my heart feel fun. I had to stop drinking it. So it's just like, it's harder to me, in my opinion. Everybody has a different struggle. For me, it's harder doing foot patrol because I feel like it's more of a fight to stay up. So, anyways, this morning in particular, though, he didn't ask me to drive for him. So it was just like a thing where I think it was one of those times where he was really tired. He works 2 jobs. I know the feeling. It's not easy. Doing night shift is hard already. I'm not even working another job. I'm only doing night shift, and I be getting tired and having nod off moments, which I'm definitely been working on. I have been. It's been nowhere near as bad as it was in the past. But even me, I'm not even doing a daytime job, and I have nod off moments. So much less for somebody that's saying they work during the daytime. It's gonna happen as long as you're not sleeping throughout the night and you're actively working to make sure that that's not happening. And it's not a consistent thing where you're missing your scan points and you're not hitting scans and all that. And that's not a consistent problem with him. He's been working for the company for years, didn't have that issue with him. So, anyways, he starts in the conversation bringing up the fact that, something about rats, and, bringing up this specific coworker that I know he's cool with. And I'm like, I know he's hinting that I ratted on him. And so I said, okay, well, I would never do that. I said, I've nodded off before too, and I would never rat. That's what I said to him straightforward, because I knew that's what he was hinting at me. And then he said, well, she was saying that the command center called him first, his phone first, and he didn't see any calls from the command center. And so he shows me the phone, the call log, and I scroll down and I show him, I clicked on the missed call section, and I showed him that there was a missed call from the command center 2 hours prior. There was a missed call from the command center. Mind you, all the gang stalkers saw this happening. The beauty about me being targeted and watched 24/7, as irritating as it is in moments like that, I have alibis. In moments like what happened where they were saying this coworker told me to do this and that she didn't tell me to do, these people saw that that didn't happen. So I was looking at them now antagonizing me and doing the ambulance because I'm right. Like, these people don't like me so bad, right? Not all of them, however many of them there are. They don't like me so bad that when I'm able to speak and make sense and advocate for myself, they have a problem with it. They'll start doing noise campaign. It's crazy. So, anyway, um, anyways, the reason I'm bringing up that incident is because after that took place, I did make a video about it. And the only reason, and this was another thing I think that was added on to the dislike for me at work, and them putting together this file to try to, I guess, suspend me or whatever. This was another one of those videos, I guess, that pissed them off. But the reason I did it was because he was insinuating that I had ratted on him. Now, I know eventually he would obviously ask around and find out that that didn't happen, but I still felt the need to make a video about it. So I made a video about it, and I was just talking about, what took place and the fact that I didn't rat, and that I even showed him in his call log that he had a missed call from the command center. And then after I made the video, I was laying on the bed and I was listening back to the video. And when I got to the part where I was talking about him insinuating that I ratted on him, do you know I started having that weird reaction? That reaction that they like to lie and say is indicative of guilt? Where I was breathing funny and I was looking awkward. What happened to me just now when I was talking about the supervisor that's lying and saying she gave me the directive that she didn't give me? So I started having that same reaction. and they're doing noise campaign in the background, even though they know it's not a lie. And so for me, I'm just happy in moments like that where it's something that I know for a fact they know is true. What I'm saying is true. I'm glad when I have the awkward reaction because it proves what I'm saying, that my awkward reaction isn't indicative of guilt, but of PTSD and trauma from them staring at me, insinuating heinous things, and making noise campaigns. So anyway, um, oh God, y'all, this video is still gonna be too long. I just feel like the way I'm saying it now is better than yesterday because I was stammering and rambling a lot yesterday, and so even if it is as long as yesterday, at least I feel like this time it came out better. I do feel like it came out better this time. Anyway, I'm kind of doing the same thing again. Like the whole reason why I believe the little fictitious file was put together on me in the first place. I'm kind of doing the same thing again. I'm not meaning to. It's just unfair because it's like I'm not sitting here making these videos for the hell of it, just to be a nuisance. I'm making it because I'm constantly being harassed and I'm advocating for myself, and then it feels like I get retribution for it. But anyways, I'm not gonna be doing these videos about work anymore. I learned my lesson. So, whatever it is that's taking place, they know what's going on, and it's usually tactics being used. So I'm not making these videos about work anymore because of what took place. I now learned my lesson. But again, this is my last video for documentation purposes because a whole lie was told in that meeting yesterday, and I was almost suspended indefinitely. I did get suspended. I missed 3 days of work, but then I was almost suspended indefinitely. And I think because I advocated for myself, that's why that didn't happen. So anyways, let me just, I don't want to piss people off more. I'm just trying to, like I said, document for myself what happened. So anyways, in the meeting yesterday, I'm trying to remember where I was at. They can rev they went with the craziness. They're nuts. I'm trying to remember where I was at. I'm trying to remember where I was at because I went off on a tangent. This is what I always do, but that was relative. I'm glad I brought that up. That was relative because I was talking about the supervisor and the false directive she gave me, and I started getting the awkward look on my face, and they used that as an opportunity to zoom by. And so that reminded me of that incident with that same coworker who they're claiming didn't close the gate or open the gate, and put the flags up when he was insinuating that I had ratted when everyone saw I didn't. And I even proved to him that the command center had been calling him. When I made the video about it and I listened back, I had the same awkward reaction, and they know for a fact that that wasn't a lie. So I just had to point that out though. I'm gonna point it out every time because every time they try to gaslight me and say these reactions are anything other than PTSD from them staring at me and making noises, I want to point it out and prove my point. So, anyways, I forgot what I was gonna say though. So I was in the meeting Friday. The meeting. God. Okay. So the first thing not he. I don't want to be disrespectful. The first thing the general manager was trying to tackle was this lie that the supervisor, and I have to keep saying it like that because it was a lie, a blatant lie, was this lie that the supervisor was saying that the morning when I was making that video that I believe people took as offensive, when I was just advocating for myself, when I was making that video, that morning, the directive that they're claiming the supervisor gave me, that morning she gave me the directive to, in place of my coworker, put up the vehicle, put up the flags and open the gate in the back. So he calls her on the phone. She wasn't, like I was told, sitting in the meeting. I was expecting her to be sitting there because I wanted to see if she was going to lie to my face, whoever this person was. Come to find out which supervisor it was, and I don't think she would have been able to because I don't even know that to be her personality. I don't think she would have been able to sit there and look me in my eyes and tell a lie like that. So, anyways, she's on the phone. They bring her on they called her up, and the general manager kind of had the phone over by him where I couldn't even really converse with her, and I had to ask him, "Can I speak with her, please?" Because he's talking with her, and he's telling her, so tell me what it is that took place on that day, when you said you gave the directive, and she said, "Oh, okay." She's sounding like biting nails, like she did not want to be in this meeting. She didn't sound like she wanted to say what she was saying, but she was saying that, right? She's saying that the morning she came in the shopping center and she saw Nurse there, and she came up to me, and Nurse is my last name, y'all, and she gave me the directive to open the gate in the back and to put the flags up. And he said, "Okay, so you're saying you did give her that directive?" And she's saying yes. I immediately interjected. I sat forward because the phone was in a way where I wouldn't have even been able to speak with her, and I expected her to be in the meeting. And I said, "Why did you give me that directive?" I said, "So and so was on shift. He was vehicle patrol. That was his duty to open the gate in the back and to put the flags up. Why would you have given me that directive?" She started stammering, and then the general manager spoke over her, and he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "I'm sorry, now I'm stammering. They're barking in the background." He said, don't worry about why she gave you the directive. He said, it doesn't matter why a supervisor gives you a directive. If a supervisor gives you a directive, you are to follow it. I said, correct. I said, I'm not arguing with that. I said, the problem is there's a discrepancy here. I'm saying that she did not give me that directive, and she's saying that she did. So we need to get to the bottom of why she would have given me that directive in the first place. And I said, so why did she give me the directive? He said, well, I know why she gave it to you. She told me. I said, huh? I said, okay, well, I don't know why, and I'm telling you she didn't give me that directive. So he said, well, we really need to talk to the other guard and figure out, no, he didn't say that. Excuse me, he didn't say that. I said, furthermore, why would she have given me that directive when the guard who's supposed to do it was on duty? He was there all night. I saw him. That's what I said. And so he said, well, what we really need to do is speak to so-and-so, talking about the guard now that didn't do what he was supposed to do. Or this is what they're claiming. I'm not saying he didn't do it, because he does what he's supposed to do. Like I said, I haven't had issues with him. He's very consistent. Him and I have a good repertoire. There have been a few little things here and there with him and I, but for the most part, we're cool. And we have, like I said, a symbiotic relationship where when he's tired, he'll ask me to drive rather than not do his duty. We'll switch roles and he'll do foot patrol and I'll do vehicle patrol. And I love it because that's what keeps me up. I haven't had any issues with him. There was only 2 times in all the months I've been working with him. 2 times I saw him slip up. It was that one night when the supervisor came out and told him that the command center was calling and he wasn't hitting his scan points. That one night. And then there was another night when the barber shop, guys from the barber shop came over and knocked on the office. This was when I was still sitting in the office all night long, when I had been given that false directive from that supervisor I talked about in the last clip. Came and knocked on the office, and I opened the door, and the guy for the barber shop seemed kind of pissed off. And he said, it's so and so time. He's like, I have an appointment. The office isn't open. The mini mines are open. He's complaining. I said, okay. I said, I'm sorry, I don't have the key. I said, my coworker is supposed to open it. I said, he didn't open it yet. He said, no. I said, okay, hold on. I said, let me see if I can find him. And I realized I didn't have his number at the time. I do now. Not that it matters. I was moved from that post. You're gonna hear that at the end of this video. I got in my personal vehicle and I went looking for him and I found him and I got him to open the office, the mini mall for the barbershop, because the barbershop guy was complaining that he had an appointment. Those are the 2 times I saw him slipping up. It was that one time with the barbershop, and then the second time was when the manager came. That had nothing to do with me. The manager came because the command center called her because he wasn't hitting his scan points. Those were the only 2 times he slipped up, to my knowledge. Any other time, if he were feeling too tired, we had the relationship where he would ask me to drive and I was more than happy to do it. So anyways, so he's saying, not he, excuse me, again, I don't want to be disrespectful. The general manager starts saying, well, you know who we really need to speak to? We need to speak to so-and-so because he was there that morning and he was the one that was supposed to have the key in the vehicle. I said, bingo. I'm like, I'm not the one who's supposed to be here. If this is really something that took place, that is who is supposed to be in this meeting getting reprimanded. He had the duty to put up the flags and open the back gate. I'm foot patrol. I didn't have that duty. And if you're saying a supervisor gave me a directive that I was supposed to do it and not him, why was I never given the vehicle key? Why all the way up until the end of the shift did I see him and he had the vehicle and he told me nothing about it? So why is he not here in this meeting? It's just baffling to me that he was never in any of these meetings when it was his duty. So this is why I just started to feel like the whole thing was like this fictitious thing is what it felt like because I made the video. I'm just being honest. I want to be careful because these videos, it's the whole reason why I think the whole little file was put together in the first place is because of me making these videos. And again, although it was for avocation of me, I do admit that some of the videos I didn't need to make. I know at this point now that some of it is tactics being used as far as gang stalking goes, not talking about the job. And different things like that that I don't always have to respond to. I need to stop being so reactive. But at the same time, it is what it is. It feels like this was some sort of let me just be careful about it. It just kind of felt like these fictitious things were put together as an excuse to suspend me because I was making the videos. Anyways, so when he said that, he said, who we need to speak to is so and so because he's the one that had the vehicle and he didn't give you the key and this and that. I said, right. I said, why would he have not given me, if that were an actual directive that was given to me, why wasn't he aware of the fact that he was supposed to do that? So then now the general manager asks the supervisor. He said, well, did you talk to so-and-so about it? And she said, yes. She said, I went up to so-and-so when he was putting the flags up and I told him, don't do it. Let Sharifa do it. That's what she said. I said, what? I said, so he was already putting the flags up and you stopped him from putting the flags up and he's vehicle patrol, mind you, I'm foot patrol. and you told him, let me do it? I said, why? Nobody can tell me why. She didn't answer. He said, okay, well, you know what? She's tired. She worked last night. This is what the general manager said. He said, we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll continue the investigation. I need to speak with so and so. He cut her off because she was stammering, and I think that part of what was being said wasn't cohesively discussed prior to my getting there. I don't think they thought that I would ask why was I being given that directive, and the reason I'm asking why is because I wasn't given the directive. So let's get to the bottom of why she would have been giving me that directive in the first place. So anyway, he lets her go. He said she worked last night. He let her get off the phone. I thought in my head, I worked last night too, but I'm sitting here in this meeting because this is a serious matter. But I didn't say that because I didn't want to create problems. So I let her off the phone because she sounded she didn't even want to be on the phone. I just let it go, right? I'm like, okay, I think I made my point here with this because this is like clearly not making sense. It's being said here. So then now they more so focus on the things in the folder. They pulled out stuff that were legit. One thing that was legit, right? He pulled out this incident that took place with the logbook and the walkie-talkie. So basically, now that we're not allowed to go in the office, the things that we usually use throughout the night, us guards, foot patrol, vehicle patrol, we weren't using walkie-talkies before. That was a relatively new directive. That was given 2 weeks ago in the meeting where I was getting reprimanded for what they're claiming my coworker didn't do. And I'm saying claiming because I don't want to keep saying what he didn't do. I'm making it seem like he's negligent if it's something that was never even a thing in the first place. If it's some sort of fictitious issue that wasn't real, I don't even want to keep saying what he didn't do if he really did do. So what they're claiming, that's what I'm saying, claiming he didn't do. In that meeting 2 weeks ago, that was where the directive about using walkie-talkies was given. And so not only was that directive given about using the walkie-talkies, but that was also where the directive that foot patrol is now to help vehicle patrol with flags and with the back gate. That's where that directive was given as well. That was all given 2 weeks ago. So prior to that, all these months that I've been working at that post, we were not using walkie-talkies. So this is new to me, using the walkie-talkie, relatively new. And then also what's new is having the logbook on my person. Typically it all sits in the office. But now, since that was one of the new developments, the key not being out there in the shopping center and us not having access to the office, the logbook now sits on us. So it's either in the vehicle with the vehicle patrol guard or it's on me, the foot patrol guard. And I'm out in the open, I'm out in the element. I'm sitting in the shopping center on a chair, right? So I had it rested on the stage. Instead of having it sitting in my lap all night long, I sit in the main area of the shopping center and there are a bunch of seats, kind of like a theater, and then you have a stage area. And I just leave the book laying on the stage. And then I, throughout the night, fill it out every time I do a foot patrol. So this morning, every time I did have it, because like I said, typically since we didn't have it in the office, it would either be in the vehicle or it would be on me. And more often than not, it would stay in the vehicle. This night was one of those nights it was on me and I left it on the stage. And every hour, like I said, when I get up, I would fill it out. This morning, I didn't have the vehicle that I usually borrow to go to work. I had to get a ride from my father because the vehicle that I typically use that belongs to someone else in my close circle, my mom, was not registered. So basically, my brother was using the vehicle. He was pulled over for using it and it not being registered. It got towed here to the house, and we made the decision. Excuse me, y'all. We made the decision to not drive it anymore. Right? I've been recently driving it to work at night because at night, you feel like there's less of a risk. This is a small island anyway. There's less of a risk at night. But at first, we weren't driving it at all. So we stopped driving it during the daytime, and we stopped driving it at night. Excuse me, y'all, they're actively humming on me. You know how they do when I make these videos, especially if I'm making sense, even if I'm just advocating for myself in a situation where it's obvious why I would be advocating for myself. They still hum on me. I still get punished. So anyways, this is why I started slowing down because the thing has physical effects on me. I already told y'all. Look into Havana syndrome. Anyways, so this night in question, I didn't have the vehicle. So when morning time came and my ride came, my father pulled up. He was rushing. He had a job that he was supposed to do, and he was rushing to get there. And he had to come and pick me up, take me home, and then go to whatever job it was that he had to do. So I remember running from the main area, grabbing my chair. Now, mind you, I have a bunch of stuff with me because it's super hot at night. It's summertime. Remember, I told you I'm sitting out in the element. I don't have a car with AC that I get to sit in. So I bring my fan to work with me. I plug it in. I bring a chair I can sit on, because the theater chairs don't feel really that comfortable to me. And I set up my fan. So I grab it. I'm grabbing all my stuff. I grab my fan. I grab my chair. I grab, everything in my bag, and I'm running out to the front to catch my ride. And I had already seen that the guard, the relief had came. I saw her in the front, right? My other coworker had already driven off. I run to the front with myself and I completely forgot that the walkie-talkie and the logbook was sitting there on the stage. This was the only night and the only time I've ever done this in all the months I've been working for them. But still, I understand this was a legit claim because that is their property and that was negligence. So this is why I took ownership for it in the meeting. That was the one legitimate thing they brought forward that I actually did. So I grabbed the stuff and I ran out to the front. I told the guard that relieved me good morning. I told him morning quick. Didn't even think about the fact that, hello, you're supposed to hand the book to her. And usually I'm not the one that hands it to her. It's usually in the vehicle, and the vehicle patrol guard hands it to her. So this morning, like I said, this was one of the few times where it was on my person, and I forgot. I was absent-mindedly trying to run and catch my ride. So I run out with everything, and I'm stuffing my stuff. My dad said, hurry up, hurry up. I'm hopping in the car trying to stuff my chair in and stuff. And we leave, and I completely forgot that the book was there. So they brought that up, and that was one of the things that they said they were writing me up for. And they made that the main focal point of the meeting because that was the only legitimate thing, really, that was truly brought forth. That was truly legitimate. That was negligence on my part. Completely understandable, though. Not okay. Not okay, and I understand getting written for it. But a complete suspension for it, when I've never been suspended before, I don't think that would have happened to any other guard. But I think it happened to me because there was already this thing going on. So anyway, so that was one of the things that they wrote me up for, the main thing they wrote me up for, and the main thing I signed for because I did do that. And then also on the paper they had that same morning one of the supervisors was there to sign us in, and how me and the other guard, we left before we could get signed in because they were first telling me you left before you could get signed in. Miss so and so said you left before you could get signed in. I said so did the other guard. I said the relief was here and it was after 7. So how were we supposed to know that that supervisor was here? And they said, oh, she was sitting in her car, but you didn't see her. I said, okay, well then how is that my fault? How can I get written up for that? I said, the other guard left too. And he said, yeah, he's going to get in trouble too. I said, but how are we getting in trouble for that? When she was in her car, it was after 7. We get off at 7 and the relief was there. And so he said, okay, well, you don't have to sign for that part if you don't agree with it. I said, okay, because he was going to make me sign the sheet for what I was getting written up for, and I didn't agree with that part. So I said, can I put a star and an initial next to it and say I don't agree with this part of the paper? He said, sure, no problem. So I wrote that I didn't agree with that part of the paper and that I'm only agreeing to being written up for the walkie-talkie thing because I did do that. He even told me, thank you for taking, he said, thank you for taking accountability for that. I said, no problem. I said, I don't mind taking accountability for anything that I feel like I'm wrong in. I said, I only argue about things that I don't feel like I'm wrong in. I don't ever have an issue with taking accountability if it's something I truly feel like I'm wrong for. If it's other things that I feel aren't fair, then that's when you're going to get me arguing. Or else I'm never going to argue. If I'm wrong, I'm humble, my tail between my legs. But if I feel like it's stuff that's not fair and it's not true, even worse yet, I am going to argue. So anyways, um, so that he told me, it's just too much. It's just not working out. He said with the thing with the supervisor and you leaving the equipment out. He said, and then you not writing in the book when you're putting up the flags and going to close the gate and writing which guard is relieving you. And so I stopped him there and I said, you're right. You did give me the directive to write in the book when we're putting the flags up and when we're going to the back to close the gate. And you did tell me to write when the guard relieves me. I said, the first night you gave me the directive, I did it. I said, I went through the book and I was looking to see if any of the other guards were doing it. I said, no other guard was doing it. It was only me. And he said, no other guard was doing it? And he said, well, if none of them are doing it, they're all going to end up where you are right now. They're all going to be in this office getting reprimanded. He said, all of them will be here. I said, okay, no problem. But I said, so I'm getting suspended for it and no one else? I said, because I didn't take pictures, but the whole book, I realized I was the only one doing it, so I stopped. And he said, well, no matter if you're the only one doing it, you were given the directive, and if you're given a directive, you're supposed to follow it. I said, you're correct. I said, I agree with you. I said, I was wrong for that. I should have listened to the directive. I agree with you. But I'm just letting you know I stopped doing it because I went through the book and I noticed nobody else was doing it. And he said, okay. He said, well, all the other guards will get talking to. If we look through the book and we see none of them are doing it, they're going to get spoken to as well. But you weren't doing that. You weren't following the directive. You left the walkie-talkie out. And we have a supervisor saying that she gave you a directive. I said, but the supervisor thing is still an argument. I said, there's still a discrepancy that we haven't determined that. He said, well, that's still under investigation, so don't worry about that. But he said, you left the walkie-talkie out, and that's negligence. He said, that's negligence of the equipment. I said, I agree with that. And he said, so you are being suspended because I think you need to think about if you really appreciate this job. So that's the same thing he told me last year, right at the beginning of last year when I was having a shit performance. I was having a terrible performance. Then I completely understood. I was having a horrible performance. I was sleeping all night long on the job. I was sick. That was around the time when I suspect I was hit with the radiation poisoning. My uniform was hanging off of me. I had the black circles around my eyes. I wasn't mentally stable. I was going to work, clocking in, or signing in, excuse me, and I was putting my head down. I was knocking out KO for most of the night. I actually didn't get suspended for that, shockingly enough. What I got suspended for at the beginning of last year was an argument that the secretary and I had, not even an argument, a misunderstanding that she and I had about the scheduling. Because she scheduled me for a time that was outside of the time that I told her was my availability time. And it was a shift she had given me before. It was a location she had given me before. So I didn't bother to look up the military time to see that she had actually given me a time that was outside of the time that I told her I was available to work. And so she and I were arguing back and forth about that, and they suspended me. Now, I believe the true suspension was because I was having a shit performance and I was sleeping all night on the job. But the reason I was given was because of that argument or that misunderstanding about the military time. Then I understood. I was having a horrible ass performance. I was sleeping all night long. So I understood that. But here I didn't understand being given the indefinite suspension. Even if they took the 3 days and they told me it was because of the walkie-talkie situation, I'd be like, okay, cool, I get it. But it was the way he was wording it, like it was going to be a replay of what took place last year, where he said, I think you need to sit and see if you care about this job. So you're going to be suspended until we contact you. So immediately my heart dropped. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, like, whoa. I'm like, this is sounding like it's going to be another months and months and months before I hear from them again. But my heart didn't drop all the way because I was prepared. I had already in my mind worked out the scenarios. I realized that making the videos pissed them off. I realized that they had cracked down on me at work, and a lot of, little things were being demanded, because of what seemed like, my making these videos and stuff. I kind of suspected that. But the straight up lie with the supervisor, that was when I realized, okay, I really pissed them off and anything could possibly take place in this meeting. So I started to think ahead of time before I went in the meeting, what is going to be the solution or what can I do to remedy this to make things work for me? So I already kind of prepared for them, possibly suspending me long term. And I already knew that I would qualify for unemployment because I've been working for them for more than 8 months. And this was something that I hadn't been written up for before. This was just this kind of like come into office, and now we're telling you you're being written up and suspended for something that we haven't even settled. I'm not even agreeing with what's being said, but I knew that I would qualify for unemployment, and I also knew I would qualify for food stamps. So in my head, I wasn't completely panicking. I kind of went in with the understanding that I could possibly get suspended, and I knew I had a backup. So I wasn't freaking out, but at the same time, I didn't really think I was going to get suspended indefinitely. I thought it was going to be this, okay, well, we're writing you up, kind of like to scare me. I thought it was a fair tactic, like to scare me. And then they were going to take like 3 days off my schedule, possibly move me from that location because I think some of the guards complained because of the videos I make. I think that's what took place. And so I thought that's what was going to take place. They were going to move me from that location and take the 3 days off my schedule. I didn't think it was going to be this indefinite. I prepared for it, but I didn't think that was actually what was going to happen. I didn't think they were going to actually try to indefinitely suspend me. And then the secretary, after he said that, it was going to be done there. It seemed like he was just going to suspend me indefinitely. And then whenever they contact me. The secretary then said, also, we're full now. I don't have any availability for your availability. We're full now. Well, and so, it was just kind of this thing where it's like, you're letting me go again for a long period of time and I don't have any employment. And it's because I know it's because I suspect I can't concretely prove it. It's because I was making these videos, and these fictitious reasons were put together in this folder. And the only thing that was legitimate was really me leaving the equipment out that night, and that's not grounds. I mean, shoot, they can do what they want. This is their company, and they can do what they want. They can let you go at any time, and that's the understanding. But typically, they wouldn't have suspended you indefinitely for a minor mistake like that, especially when you explain that it was because your ride was coming and you didn't have a ride that night or that morning. They were just extra hard on me, and I think it was because of these videos I've been making. So, anyways, I didn't argue with them. I don't have a problem with the secretary. I don't have a problem with the general manager because I understand I'm targeted. I understand what comes with that, and I understand you get unfair treatment everywhere you go. It's not even just specifically a job thing. It's really in every aspect of life, and you have these reactions to the unfair treatment, and that could sometimes create retribution for you, especially if you're not careful with how you're wording the things you're saying in your videos, and if you kind of seem like one of those kind of crass, don't care type of people and you don't beat around the bush, that can create a lot of enemies and it has for me. So I kind of came to that conclusion. It's like I'm not angry with them. I'm more so angry about the lie that the lie that we're trying to perpetuate. That's what I, if anything, was more so disappointed about. Nothing else really. I mean, I kind of understood. Okay, well, it's probably the videos. I'm gonna make it work for me. And I know now with the next job, don't make videos. Like even if there's gang stalking, whatever taking place, do not make videos about the job. This is what I'm learning. But I'm just like, it still was a shock to me, the whole lie thing. That was the most shocking thing for me in that meeting. But it's whatever, I have respect, like I said, for the secretary and the general manager because last year they did give me an opportunity. When literally I was having trouble getting work last year, they did give me a job. They gave me hours, they gave me an opportunity, and they worked with me. So I do have respect in that regard. I have not forgotten that that took place. It was more so just like a disappointment with what took place in that meeting, especially what felt like unfair treatment in certain parts of whatever. But anyway, so now today I was making a little list about Monday. I had a little list together. I was like, okay, I gotta go to unemployment. I gotta go to food stamps. I know it sounds like ghetto racket, whatever. I'm not judging anybody that uses those different sources because it's there for a reason. Use it. Why not? You paying taxes and all these different things. I don't see why you wouldn't use the help if you can get it. So I'm not judging anybody that uses it, and I'm not judging myself for using it. I'm at a low state right now, and when I can get up, I will get up. But I'm like, I'm going on Monday to unemployment. I'm going to food stamps. I'm going to this place, that place. I had a whole little list written, and I wasn't really sweating about what was taking place. I was just like, okay, this happened. I'm gonna do these things on Monday and take care of it. That's how I felt. And then I saw a text message from the secretary where she actually did give me like a full schedule at these different locations. And so I was so grateful. I'm like, okay, so I was given another opportunity. Oh, before I left the meeting, that was the thing I said too. I didn't argue with them about the suspension. I just argued about one part of the sheet where they were saying the thing about not signing, not being there for the supervisor to sign out. And I let them know that was the same morning when I left the walkie-talkie on the stage. I let them know that my coworker left too, and we left because it was after 7 and the relief was there, and we didn't see the supervisor. So if she was in her car, that's not our fault. No disrespect to her, but I don't agree to being written up about that part, and so let me put a star by it and say I didn't agree to that. And the only thing I asked them was, I asked the secretary, can you please write a statement stating that you don't have any hours available for me anymore, and that I used to work this amount of hours, I was making this amount of money. And I said it's for unemployment. And she said, okay, sure, no problem. I just have to contact HR and then I'll get back to you about it. And so that was the last thing I said to them. And then today I got a message from the secretary and I had a full schedule at a totally obviously different locations, not the shopping center, which I'm low-key grateful for. I think this will work out better for me. And so that's what it is. I just know to make sure I'm doing everything by the book, like dotting my I's, crossing my T's, and mainly, most importantly, don't make videos about the job. Don't make videos about the job. I learned my lesson, man. Anyway, so I just wanted to document and let y'all know what's going on. That's it. This is the last video you're gonna hear from me. Not about that gang stalking and not about targeting. There's a lot of stuff I don't need to make videos about anymore, y'all. I have a video for everything, literally. But there will likely be things that happen still that I might need to make a video about. But there will not be anything about the job again or any job that I work because literally you could get fired for that. Like, so I can't afford to be around here with no job. So I'm not making videos. One thing you won't be hearing is videos about the job anymore. You will not. This is the last one. It's just documentation of what took place for my record and also just to keep out updated on what's going on. Let me see how long this is because I know it's. Wow. This is the same length, literally the same length as the video I made yesterday. The only difference is I think I like how I worded things better on this one. I feel like the last video was all over the place and helter skelter. Anyway, I'll talk to you on the next one, man. Peace out. This is gonna be now that I see how long it